20 years, right? And if you are committed and you're in commitment at TJJD, sometime before your 19th birthday, there has to be a decision made whether to transfer you to the Texas Department of Corrections, the adult prison system, right? This also can be used against you in adult criminal proceedings if you were to get arrested again after you're 17. Well, you know, you have certain rights. You have the right to remain silent. You do not have to say anything at all. However, you give, my understanding is by this plea bargain agreement that you've come to through your attorney, that you wish to give up that right to remain silent and admit your responsibility in the crimes you're accused of. Do you give up your right to remain silent? Basically, what I'm asking is there's a deal made, right, for the probation. And so you have to admit that you did everything, though, right? So if you admit it, you're giving up your right to remain silent. Nobody can force you to say you did it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you give up your right to remain silent? Do you want to admit that you committed these offenses so you can get the probation?
Yes, sir.
You also have a right to have a trial. You don't have to admit to anything, right? You can force the DA to prove her case and show that you actually committed the aggravated assaults and the unauthorized use of motor vehicle in a trial. And I would hear from witnesses, see whatever exhibits. I don't know what's there, but I would see it and I would make a decision whether you committed these offenses or not. Okay. Do you need them to prove that you did all this, or are you willing to not have a trial and just go forward by admitting you did it?
Not have a trial and just go forward.
Okay. And during that trial, you have a right to confront your witnesses. That means there are people who have things to say about you that do not put you in a good light, all right, that in theory would prove up this crime, and you have a right to look them in the eye. So if they're lying about you, they have to lie to your face. And that is called your right to confront your witnesses. Do you give up your right to confront your adverse witnesses?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also have, if you, for some reason, if you don't like me, you wish to have a trial in front of a jury, you do have a right to have 12 people in this courtroom. They would listen to the same evidence I would have heard, and they would make the decision whether you committed the aggravated assaults or the unauthorized use of motor vehicle. Do you need a jury to make that decision, or do you give up your right to a jury?
I give them my right to a jury.
All right. Now you understand there is a plea bargaining agreement. If I follow this plea bargaining agreement, that you have no right to appeal. This will be final. So if you, tomorrow, if you have sour grapes and change your mind, then there's nothing you can do about it, right? You're stuck with it. Let's say you're on probation, you violated probation, you're looking at prison time, you can't go back and undo what's done today. Today will be final. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Mom, can you tell me what your legal name is?
Tamisha Cherie Stevenson.
Okay. And what is your relationship to Kenshay?
His mother.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Graham, is there any reason why your client will not understand the proceedings today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Is he fit to proceed?
He is.
All right, Kenshay, you are here today because the state of Texas has filed a petition alleging you have engaged in delinquent conduct, which, if committed by an adult, would constitute an offense against the laws of Texas. Namely, in paragraph 3, that on or about February 7th of 2020, you intentionally and knowingly threatened imminent bodily injury to Christopher McCoy in that you used a deadly weapon during the assault, namely a firearm, when it was discharged at Christopher McCoy. They're saying in paragraph 4 that you, on February 7th of 2020, that you intentionally operated a motor vehicle, namely an automobile, knowing that you did not have the consent of the owner, Spencer Gates. Finally, in paragraph 5, they're saying that on or about January 12th, 2020, the intentionally and knowingly caused bodily injury to Jacob Sevdi by shooting him with a firearm, that you used or exhibited a deadly weapon during the commission of the assault, namely a firearm. You understand what they're saying that you did?
Yes, sir.
All right. Stay wave open?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any exhibits from the state for adjudication?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So what I have here, Mr. McGee, is a stipulation of evidence. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you go over this with your attorney?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, do you understand what a stipulation is?
No, sir.
Okay. A stipulation is a very formal way of saying that you agreed to something. All right. So, for example, if we can go ahead and we'll take Mr. Shipley, right? You see him on the screen here, and he has a background on him. And if I said his background was blue and white, okay, is that something you could agree with?
Are you breaking up? You was breaking up.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Shipley there, he has a background. He's a gentleman with a white beard and the glasses. All right, I won't say what. We'll say salt and pepper, Mr. Shipley. And the glasses, all right? But you see the background in his image. If I said it was blue and white, is that something you would agree?
No, sir. I think it's black and white.
Okay, black and white. So a dark color and a white color. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's something that we could what's called stipulate. So that means once we stipulate, that means forever and ever for the rest of time, no one, you and I could not disagree what color the background was. But if I said his background was a solid red background, is that something you could agree with?
No, sir.
All right. So we could not enter that stipulation because later on there may be a disagreement about it. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So that's what stipulation is. So this document here is called a stipulation. That means if you're saying that you agree to everything in here, and for now, forevermore, you can never go back and argue about anything that's in this document. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here, on the second page toward the bottom, there's a signature. Do you recognize that signature?
No, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I recognize.
okay. You recognize the signature down there?
You talking about my name or the cursive?
The cursive.
No, sir.
That's my signature, Judge.
Oh, that is yours. Okay. All right. So let me go over this with you then. All right. I want to make sure you understand. So what the stipulation says, so I'm going to read some things to you, and I want to make sure I'm going to ask you along the way if you agree to everything. But remember, this is a stipulation. So if you have any disagreement about this, you have to tell me. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So see, if Tamisha Stevenson were in court, that she would say that she lives at 2400 Cypress Street in Fort Worth, and that she is your parent, and that your name is Kenshe Donante McGee. You're 16 with a birth date of March 10th, 2004, and that she is the one who has custody control over you. Is that everything about that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that you are also the respondent in this case, and that you waive your right to be here in court to confrontation, remember of the witnesses, to cross-examine the witnesses, to put holes in their story, to a trial by a jury, and by any other evidence that may come in during this hearing. Okay? And you waive your right to remain silent, and that you confess to the following facts I'm going to go over. But so far, everything is true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So what I said earlier about paragraph 3 is that on February 7th, that you threatened Christopher McCoy and that you shot at him using a deadly weapon, specifically a firearm. Is that true or not true?
Yes, sir.
I need a true or not true. I need those words.
Not true.
Okay. So it is not true that you fired at Christopher McCoy, or it is true that you fired at Christopher McCoy?
Not true.
Not
Judge,
true?
if I may,
Yes.
the allegation of the aggravated assault, there's some dispute as to which of the kids involved actually had the gun in their hand.
Okay.
Through the law of parties,
Okay.
that's where we got there.
That's fine. I'll explain that. So, Mr. McGee, there's something in the state of Texas called the law of parties, right? What that means is when a group of individuals plan, commit, or benefit from a crime together, they're all separately and equally guilty of that crime, right? So here's an example. Let's say me and Mr. Shipley decide to rob a bank, right? Now, I'm just a getaway driver. Mr. Shipley goes into the bank, holds up a note, right? Says, give me the money. This is a robbery. So they give him the money. The security guard is all old and shaky, and he pulls out his gun and starts shooting at Mr. Shipley, but hits an innocent bank customer by mistake. Well, Mr. Shipley gets out, gets in my car, and we drive off. Right? Well, you understand, you're looking because it was a robbery and somebody died, right? Even though Mr. Shipley didn't even have a gun, somebody died, there is a capital murder charge, okay? That can face the death penalty. Well, since I was a getaway driver, even though I didn't have a gun, Mr. Shipley didn't have a gun, nobody pulled the trigger, but we were committing a robbery, I helped him with the robbery, and somebody died, I could face the death penalty. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So that's what the law of parties is, right? So I'm asking you on this aggravated assault, on the shooting, okay? Is it true or not true? But true or not true also includes whether you help plan, commit, or benefit from the shooting of Christopher McCoy. So is it true that you committed, through the law of parties, aggravated assault of Christopher McCoy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the next question is that on or about February 7th of 2020, that you intentionally operated a motor vehicle specifically an automobile, without the consent of the owner, Spencer Gates. Is that true or not true?
True.
Okay. Finally, on or about January 12, 2020, that you intentionally knowingly caused bodily injury to Jacob Sevdi by shooting him with a firearm, which is a deadly weapon, specifically a firearm. Okay. Is that true or not true?
True.
Okay, and part of the agreement is that you also agree that you are in need of rehabilitation and that protection of the public requires disposition. It's your best interest to be placed outside of your home, and that way you can return home because your home cannot provide you the quality of care, support, and supervision that you need for probation. And so you agree that what you need is placement at Clarinda Academy and then 4 years of probation and no possession of any kind of weapons or BB guns or any other type of gun, and no contact with Jacob Sevdi, Christopher McCoy, or Spencer Gates. Is that your agreement?
Yes, sir.
So to this stipulation, you agree to everything that I read out to you?
Yes, sir.
Is everything in here true or not true?
True.
There are enhancements, two enhancements of deadly weapons. Is it true that a deadly weapon was used in paragraph 3 and paragraph 5?
Yes, sir.
Is anybody forcing you to say true?
Sir?
Is anybody making you say true?
No, sir.
Did anybody coerce you or induce you? So did anybody threaten you harm to make you say true?
No, sir.
Did anybody induce you? That mean anybody offer you any kind of money or reward to say true?
No, sir.
Did you say true voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what does the word voluntary mean to you?
Like to volunteer, like to like voluntary, like I want to say to like to do like without being told, like it's like I don't know how to explain it, but I know I know.
Like nobody made you do it, right?
Yes, sir.
And nobody made you say true?
No, sir.
Are you saying true because it is true and for no other reason?
I'm saying true because it is true.
Okay, thank you. All right, closings, Ms. Bell?
State would waive.
All right, Mr. Graham, closing?
All I would say, Your Honors, we've discussed this plea agreement at length with Kinche, and he's looking forward to getting this done and moving on to Clarinda Academy. We would ask that you approve that.
Okay, but no closing to adjudication?
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Okay. All right, so based on the competent evidence from the hearing, the court will make a finding of delinquency. Specifically, the court will find the allegations in the petition in paragraphs 3, 4, and 5 were established by the evidence. Ms. Bell, I'm assuming the state waives paragraph 1 and 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The court will accept the waiver. Furthermore, the court will make an affirmative finding that a deadly weapon was used, specifically a firearm, right? And that will conclude the adjudication portion of this matter. All right, are we ready for disposition?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Mr. Graham?
Respondent's ready, Your Honor.
Kelly's ready. All right. So the court will call cause number 323-112-939-20. This is styled in the matter of Kenche Donante McGee. The court having previously adjudicated this child as delinquent, we are now here on a disposition hearing. State waive opening.
Yes, Your Honor.
Exhibits from the state.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the state would like to enter what was previously marked as Petitioner's Exhibit 1, which is a social history prepared for the disposition hearing and was provided by the probation officer to both the state and the defense attorney.
Okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Petitioner's 1 is submitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would then like to enter what was previously marked as Petitioner's Exhibit 2, which is the victim's court report and was again prepared for the disposition hearing by Ron Shipley and provided to both the state and the defense attorney prior to this hearing today.
And no objection, Your Honor.
My petitioners too is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would rest.
Okay, is there allocution of this matter, Ms. Bell?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
All right, Mr. Graham, exhibits from the defense or witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Closings?
State would waive open and reserve the right to close.
Mr. Graham?
I would just briefly repeat what I just said a minute ago, Your Honor, that we have discussed the agreement, and Kinshay is looking forward to getting this resolved so he can go to Clarinda Academy and move on and get life right.
I have a question. So this is a determinate sentence case, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm seeing in the stipulation probation a period of 4 years in Clarinda, but I don't have an underlying commitment.
It was 4 years probated for a term of 4 years.
Okay.
So Mr. Graham and I had previously discussed, since he's not old enough, we didn't know to put I didn't know to put TJJD or TDC, so I just did 4 years confinement, potentially probated for a period of 4.
Mr. Graham, is that your understanding?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct.
Mr. Meeke, is that your understanding that I'm supposed to commit you for 4 years, but then probate that for 4 years? Is that your understanding of what's going on?
Yes, sir.
But you have to successfully complete Clarinda. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't have any information about the victim of the shooting. This gives me a lot of concern. So, like, it's not in the social history. It's not in the victim's court report. I mean, I see medical bills, but what?
Judge, if I may briefly address the court.
Sure.
I believe the victim's court report, Mr. Shipley had contact with the victim, Spencer Gates, and the restitution request is for the damage to the vehicle. The state did make contact with the victim of the shooting, and he basically left it to the state's discretion and didn't have strong feelings regarding this. Didn't, to my knowledge, submit any bills for restitution and was not interested in being involved.
I don't even know if the victim went to the hospital or like I have nothing on somebody who got shot. That kind of gives me concern. Like, is this somebody who's paralyzed from the waist down, or is this somebody who, had a scratch or had ripped clothes?
No, Jacob Sveti is the one who was shot, Your Honor, and he did go to the hospital. But again, he's the one that we have made contact with, that there was no permanent injuries. I don't believe it was just a scratch. But again, he left the resolution of the case up to the state's discretion and as evidenced by the victim's court report, did not choose to fill out a victim court report and return it to Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley, when's the last time you talked to Mr. Sveti?
I did not speak with him. He was involved in a companion case, and Miss Selena had spoken with him, and I would concur with Miss Bell as to what his his participation in these proceedings would be.
So Mr. Sveti is a juvenile?
No, Your Honor, he was not. There were multiple co-respondents, is I believe what Mr. Shipley is saying, and so Miss Salinas was the victim court advocate on that case and had reached out to Mr. Sveti. The state had also reached out to him, and so he was apprised of the situation, and he was given information that he could participate if he so desired. And my understanding is he let the state know to please resolve the case as we saw fit, and was not wanting to be involved any further.
Let me get this straight. So he was 13 when he was placed on probation for burglary of a habitation. And then he's 16, no, 15 when he's arrested and placed on probation for evading arrest. And then he picks up two ag assault with a deadly weapon, unauthorized use of motor vehicle. While he's on probation. And while he's on probation, he's smoking weed. Like Mr. Shipley, how many community service hours of his probation did you do?
I do not have that information, Your Honor. I'll try to look it up in the community service screen if you bear with me.
Like, just tell me anything he did right on probation.
I'm not his probation officer. I'm with the victim, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Lemire. You're right, Mr. Shipley. I'm sorry. Mr. Lemire.
If I may, Your Honor, he completed TYRC residential successfully while on probation.
Okay. Is there anything else he did right?
Before the offense that occurred, his mother never had a permanent residence, and he was always with his sister. And before these other events occurred, he always made sure to do his best to stay in touch with his officer, no matter where he had to move to.
So he was always in contact with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Stevenson, are you his sister?
I'm his mom.
Here's one.
And Your Honor, I've checked the community service. It does not appear he was ever assessed any community service hours.
Then I won't blame him for not doing them. Mr. Shipley, what's the total amount of the restitution?
Let me get back to that report. I've got a total of $6,747.54. There was another companion in this offense. So divided among the two, Kinshay's portion would be $3,373.77.
All right, Mr. McGee. The court, having reviewed the social history and considering the competent evidence provided to this court, will find that there's a need of rehabilitation. The protection of the public as well as the child requires disposition to be made. This court, with hesitation, is going to honor the stipulation and agreed plea. Mr. McGee, I'm going to commit you to the Texas Juvenile Justice Department for a period of 4 years. However, I'm going to probate that sentence, that commitment, for a period of 4 years and require you to attend and successfully complete the Clarinda Academy in Iowa. I'm also ordering, as a condition of your probation, no contact with Jacob Sevdy, Christopher McCoy, or Spencer Gates, no possessions of firearms or BB guns or toy guns or any other kind of gun or things that resemble a gun, or any order or condition of this court. Mr. McGee, we understand that I've actually committed you to TJJD, okay? I'm giving you a chance to go to Clarinda, successfully complete, then be on probation, right? This is you asking me for a second chance. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That's actually asking me for the fourth chance, because you had the first chance, you were on probation, the second chance, probation again for the evading, which is your third chance. Now this is your fourth chance. At this point, I'm just tired of getting chances. Either you're going to correct your life and do the right thing, or you're not. All right. So this is the end of the road. Right? And part of the problem is it seems like you're escalating these offenses. I'm not particularly happy with the way you were on probation before, but if you felt uncomfortable during this conversation, imagine what it's going to be like after I've committed you and you're being accused of violating your probation, and I have to decide whether to send you to TJJD or not. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure that you understand that this is your chance. So you either do everything right or you don't do everything right. I will send you to TJJD for smoking weed, right? You were telling me that you should get probation, but you promised me that you will not smoke weed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's just that simple. So if you think about lighting up, you got to think, I made a promise to the judge. Is this worth going to TJJD for over this one hit? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm also going to assess, 160 hours of community service. All right. The court will also make a finding that the child's parent made a reasonable good faith effort to prevent the child from engaging in delinquent conduct, and that despite the parent's efforts, the child continued to engage in such conduct. Hence, the court will waive any requirement for community service that may be imposed on a parent under section 54.044 of the Family Code. Mom, the law says that when a child is, there's a disposition, I'm supposed to put community service hours on the parent. right? But I'm finding that I think you and your son have had a very difficult life. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but I'm going to find that in some ways, I understand the hardship that you faced. I'm not going to require you to do community service. Okay, Mom? So just to let you know what's going on. I am going to order the restitution, the amount of $3,373.77. Mr. McGee, I'm going to let you know that your case, you will not be able to finish your probation before you turn 19 years old. That means you and I will have a hearing. So once you're on probation, if you're doing everything right, you and I see each other again, and I'll make a decision whether to transfer your probation to the adult courts or to release you early from probation as a juvenile. A large part of that conversation is going to be based on your restitution payments, okay? If you haven't paid this restitution, they didn't ask for their car to be stolen, right? They deserve to be made whole. So that's going to be a focal point of our conversation. I'm also going to let you know that if I end up committing you to TJJD, then we will have a conversation before your 19th birthday where they bring you back here from TJJD, and I will decide whether to transfer you to the Texas Department of Corrections or not. And you can finish out your sentence in the adult system. And because there was a deadly weapon used, there is no parole. You would have to complete 50% of your sentence before you could get out. So even if you make probation all the way up until 3 years and 10 months, you get revoked, you would start your 4-year sentence at that point. You understand? You don't get probation time as credit toward your sentence. All right, specifically the reason for this disposition is that the child is in need of rehabilitation, and the public protection of the public requires disposition to be made. Finally, I want to let you know, Mr. McGee, as I told you, potentially this case can be transferred to the adult courts or TDC. You do not have a right to appeal. This will be final. Right? You will not have a right to seal these records. These proceedings may be used against you in the adult criminal court. And so if you're caught as like some, illegally possessing a weapon or aggravated robbery, burglary, habitation, you can bet these 2 counts where you admitted to the ag assault, deadly weapon, and shooting somebody came out. And just imagine what a jury will think of you saying this behavior started at such a young age. So it's every incentive not to break the law as an adult. Right? Right. I've advised you do not have a right to appeal. And Ms. Bell, there's nothing in the record that indicates that the victim or intended victim was under 17 years old.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. McGee, you've gotten your chance. I'm not sure how your attorney convinced the DA to give you this deal, but he did. And evidently he did a good job. So you've gotten a gift. My advice to you is to make most of this gift. And hopefully you and I see each other. You're almost 19 and you've done everything perfectly, and I can release you early from probation. But it's up to you. All right?
You said I will have to come back here before my 19th birthday, like when I'm 18?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because you're 16 now, this probation won't end until you're 20. So before your 19th birthday, we have to have a hearing. Either while you're on probation, I decide whether to release you from probation or to transfer your probation to the adult criminal court. Or if we revoke your probation and you're in TJJD, I need to decide whether to parole you from TJJD or transfer you to the TDC, Texas prisons. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So either way, we're gonna see each other again.
Yes, sir. You said I have to do community service, right?
Yes, 160 hours, 40 hours per, 40 hours per year that you're on probation.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Bell, anything that I missed?
No, Your Honor, nothing further.
Okay, Mr. Graham, anything that I missed?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That'll be the order of the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
All right, everyone who's observing, I need to leave to go to the Zoom meeting for the detention hearing. Okay, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am. Tim will get you where you need to go. I'm sure there's some paperwork that